when it says on Anchor, explicit or clean, it's always explicit because I can't remember. And I usually probably have dropped something.
Right.
And you can't say anything now, can you?
Can't say anything.
Because you offend people.
How did Ricky Gervais get away with that?
Well, that's why he's so successful. Actually, I'm not pronouncing your last name.
We can put that in the fucking joke. So
Yeah.
No one knows how to say it. I've grown up here my whole life. Easiest way to say that is just Urbanowicz.
Urbanowicz.
Yeah, perfect.
Jason Urbanowicz.
Yeah.
Got it right. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Fearless Training Raw Knowledge Podcast with your host, as ever, myself, Alex Connor, and we're talking raw conversations with real people. And today I've got a treat. It's almost a part 2 that I did with Brad Sheppard from Trainer HQ. And today I've got with me Jason Urbanowicz.
Perfect.
Not too bad.
Nailed it.
That was about the 100th time. I'm joking. No, we did all right with that.
But don't worry, because I've lived here my whole life, and Brad and I travel. And by the way, this will be the better part of the 2-part. And and we'll go on board the plane. The stewardess, you give him the ticket, and he'll get, welcome back, Mr. Sheppard. And I get, welcome back, and they kind of do this. I'm contemplating how they're going to have a crack at it, and they go, welcome back, Jason. And that's all I get. So I've never had my last name said here, and I'm from here. So there you go. A bit of waste of time on this podcast, but there you go. My name, very hard to say.
Well, that's,
but you nailed it.
It's insightful information.
You nailed it.
There you go. Don't tell them that I actually. So I guess let's start obviously at the beginning.
Sure.
People might have a little bit of a clue because of they may have followed a couple of pathways from Trainer HQ, but tell us who you are, what you do, and more importantly, why, and then we'll start to unpack some more specific topics as we alluded to before.
Sure. So co-director of Trainer HQ. Started back in 2008, and in 2007 I had the idea that there was a missing link in the industry, meaning that before AIF and some of the other colleges were coming around and graduating, I guess an increase of people wanting to get in the fitness industry. The courses were longer, they were more in depth, there was more to it to become a trainer. And so what I saw was the lack of one skill set that people coming in the industry, but then secondly, I had really good friends that were just going back to jobs. They were getting out of the industry, not because they wanted to, but they just didn't know how to make the business a success. And through my own journey, running gyms, having trainers, been in the industry for 26 years now, I had friends come to me and said, what are you doing and how are you doing it? Like, how are you making this a success? And so I started talking to Brad and I said, mate, I think there's a real opportunity to design a course and a pathway for trainers that are good at what they do. They just struggle to know what skill set they need, what structure they need, and what level of support they need to make the business go. And that was my aim, and that was our aim and intention. It has been ever since, to provide that pathway and that platform so people in the industry can put themselves in a better position to win, to actually succeed and do what they love, rather than going back to a job. Not because I want to, but they just don't feel they've got an option. Yeah, so that's how Trainer HQ started, and since then we've educated thousands of trainers, and it just, what I love most is not only the success they have in their business, but who they become in the process. So learning to grow, and my experience has been the business will only grow if you grow personally, and. I got heavily into personal development many years ago, and I just saw the correlation that unless you're going to look at your beliefs, look at your limitations and address them, then you can't expect your business to be 100 grand, $500,000 if you've got a money mindset of like 50, and your business beliefs is that it's hard, it's risky. If those things don't match up what we want to get, then it's a self-sabotage in the process. It's just delaying the process. So I hope that's explained a little bit about what I like and what I do, and that's why we're talking today.
For sure.
Yeah.
And look, we'll dive in. There's lots of interesting questions and avenues that we can go down in that. And I think it is such a big rabbit hole, but it's something that people are almost unawares of. To use a metaphor with actual training, people are always so focused on the physical aspects, but they don't want to do the mental work.
Yep.
For example, people are happy to buy nice clothes, have the cosmetics, whatever it is, injectables, all this sort of stuff. It's like that can be bought and it's a quick fix to a degree, but people don't want to read books. They don't want to educate themselves. They don't want to have difficult conversations. They don't want to write down the goals. They don't want to start and end the day with gratitude. And we've heard it all before from a lot of key people. And the irony is, a lot of us know to do it, but we don't, because we go, oh, it's not going to because you can't go, well, how's gratitude convert to $500,000 a year? But it's like, but like, it's that insignia is a bit of an elixir to tack onto behavior and habits, which then sort of gain like a snowball momentum. And again, it's not how you do one thing, it's how you do everything. So I think maybe starting off with the behavior and habit change, and even looking at and I know there's a lot in this, Jason, so we might sort of, whatever you think is the most important to streamline, we'll leave them wanting more as always. But like, listening to, some of your journey, and obviously being part of the Trainer HQ course, that's one of the first things you tackle is this mindset. And you use obviously personal anecdotes and stories to kind of get some of those things across, which I think are really good, because obviously it's relatable and it's real. But perhaps let's start there with whatever you think some of the initial keys are to I becoming aware of it, and then maybe talking through some stages of change and rewiring those beliefs.
I mean, and I agree with you, because when I'm teaching the seminars, I go, who's ever noticed that they keep doing things that they know aren't in their best interest, but yet persist with it anyway? So there I go again, doing the same old thing. I know it's not going to get me the result, but I'll have another crack at it anyway. So the one thing that I noticed for myself personally is that there was one common denominator in all the areas of my life that weren't working out, and it was me. So when I was blaming the boss, I was blaming this, I was blaming the government, all the things that were going right, there was a common denominator. And until, to answer your question, until I took personal responsibility for where my life was at, nothing was going to change. And for me, the hardest thing as a young male was asking for help. So at 21, asking for help wasn't an option, because I thought that if I asked for help, it wasn't good enough. So in my counselling experiences, 98% of everyone's bottom line stuff is that I don't want more evidence, that I'm not good enough. So why go and we know it, knowing it, but then go and doing it. Well, maybe if I go and do it and it doesn't work and I fall short, there's going to be more evidence that, there you go, see, you're not good enough, you can't do it. Some version of that.
Like reinforces that belief.
Yeah, because I know my thing was, when I learned all this stuff and I went back and I went as a child, which is we make all these decisions, right? So before the age of 10, you form about 60,000 different habits, behaviours and programs. And these things are automatically set up what I call survival decisions. So as a kid, you've got limited resources, skills. So imagine as a 5-year-old logic, I've got to come up in a stressful situation the best way that I feel I can cope with that.
Right.
In that moment. Do that enough repeatedly, it becomes your behaviour. So anytime that distress kicks off now or later on, I've got a coping mechanism for it.
See.
And one of my ones, I made a decision very early on the piece that I just wasn't intellectually smart. I'm not going to bore you on why, but that was the decision I made. So there I am as a kid, I always felt like I was light years behind everybody else in the class, especially in maths. And so what did I do? Well, when it come time for the maths exam, as a kid, I would make myself sick the night before.
Right.
Because I would rather suspect I wasn't good at it than go and get the evidence. So
I think there's probably a lot of people that can relate in terms of like the fear of failure or not thinking they're good enough, but then also at school, I can definitely really connect with that.
Yeah.
And you think, I think just to kind of put in the socio-economic thing about that is also, we are taught, and it depends where you grew up in the world, but for the most part, there is this fear, there is this message where if you don't do well at school, you fail at life. And but I mean, I think we live in an era now where I think people are starting to really realise because a lot of people now, well, he didn't go to school, and we all go, oh, my mate Joe, he's a fucking millionaire. It's like, well, it's true, but you still are fearful. But continue on.
Yeah, it's so that was one of my decisions. So then, fast forward, get into business. What do you need to do in business? Track stats, figures, keep an eye on all that stuff. I did none of it, of course. The only time I checked any of my stats or recordings or how I was doing was tax time. And I was just crossing the fingers, hoping it was all in my favour, because I didn't know it at the time consciously, but subconsciously I was going, well, I don't want to look at that in case it says the wrong number, because then it's going to take me all the way back to my experience in school and not being good enough. So, but then as you question that, like, firstly, it's actually been taking responsibility for our lives to go, well, I've created this, and in that case, it gives you a power because it means you have the choice to change.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think there's a few ways to word it, but acceptance and ownership. It's something that can seem really challenging when you're on the opposite side of it.
Yes.
But once you do it, it's very liberating, very freeing. And I can understand it's scary, because I always say to people, imagine if you do believe in the notion that anything is on the table, and you can achieve anything in life within, obviously, people go, flying off the top of a building. All right. Well, technically, if you want to get funny, you can do it with a parachute. But anyway,
you can do it once.
Well, exactly. Exactly. Well, we only use 10% of our brain. What's the rest of it for? Just saying. Neo and the Matrix. No, but you always get that sort of retort, but it's a scary thought, and people want to, like you said, they want to be almost blinded. They want to be a little bit sort of ignorant is the word I'm looking for. And I think this is kind of the same with religion, where people go, but if I don't have anything to believe in, it's a scary thought. And what if there isn't anything? Well, it's like, well, it does. We don't know. Obviously, that we won't go down that avenue, but it's sort of, people sort of need something. So sometimes they like to stick their head in the sand, build themselves a cage, because at least the cage is familiar.
Correct.
But you are always then through the looking glass going, well, I want more, I want this. And I think a lot of people are actually quite scared of how powerful they are. And there's a great maxim, and if I remember it correctly, it's sort of, you're capable of more than you know, more powerful than you think, and and stronger than you can even imagine, or whatever. I've said it in the wrong way, but you get the idea. Basically, you're amazing is what you need to hear. But like people, exactly. But people say that, but it's like, it is true, because we all breathe, we all sleep, we all shit. There's no difference. So what is the difference between people who do really well? And there's you might be onto this, because I know obviously you're into this stuff. There's a gentleman called Sean Acor, The Happiness Advantage. I don't know if you're familiar, but he studies people who were the high achievers, and he was one of the first people to study positive psychology. So in a bell curve, you've got outliers, right? You've got the people at the bottom and the below, and they go, get rid of them because we want nice data. We'll coach to the medium. That's how schools are taught everything. And he said, well, hang on a minute. We're doing all this research for these people at the bottom trying to get an average. What about these people at the front? And the sort of the acquisition he got was, well, we don't need to worry about them because we're already killing it. He says, but why don't we study them to give that to people to then get people to really high levels? And I think this is kind of along the lines of what you guys are doing, going, right, well, let's take those principles and actually acknowledge and accept it, rather than just sort of going, caution to the wind, some people get it, some people don't, bollocks. Taking acceptance for everything in your life. And, that can be sometimes hard when you fuck up, or even if it's not, because it's out of your control. You can go, you know what, I've got this parking ticket, whatever it is. It's like, you know what, fuck it. Like, I'm going to deal with it. And it's a whole mindset shift, and when you start to do that, you notice that, all right, you sort of get a little bit of alignment, in a lot of ways, and in trajectory and momentum. But it's, people want to take acceptance of the good stuff, but they want to take acceptance of the bad stuff. Like, you've got to have the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it. You can't just have some of it, because then you don't get the success as well. It doesn't work that way. Like, you have to sort of embrace it all. I don't know if you want to speak to that a little bit.
No,
it's a rant there. As I
I just couldn't agree more. I think you've said it perfectly, and that's exactly what happens. It's an ongoing journey to self-discovery, and mostly, there's the approval by achievement syndrome, where people are externally trying to achieve to get some kind of approval, rather than looking within and saying, well, what are some of my habits, my behaviours, my values? What do I need to change internally? Because no amount of success is ever going to make you feel good enough. And that's my thing. Like, are you physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually intact, right? So most people work on one or none. So I might be physically strong, but mentally not so much. I might be physically and mentally strong in what you define as strong, but emotionally not so much. So I haven't worked on my emotional intelligence. So I look at it like that, the triangle principle. Take any one of those sides away and it falls and it crumbles down. So emotional intelligence is huge, and that's my thing really. That's what I'm doing here at the moment, this retreat is teaching people about their personalities, their behaviours, which is just coping mechanisms. So your personality is not who you really are. People that love you, they'll love you despite your personality sometimes and your behaviours, but it's understanding them. And you've ever heard someone say, oh, that's just the way I am? Really what they're saying is I don't have the ability to change. So if we understand that personality traits, habits, all the things that we're discussing, they're just old choices.
Yes. Are you familiar with, as you're speaking, I'm thinking, I got gifted a book a while back and it's called Causism by John Mace, the John Mace system.
No, I haven't.
I've still not finished it, I'll be honest, but I just want to interlink this because this is almost, people struggle to grasp these concepts because they can't touch and feel them to a degree, and I think that's what people get a bit almost scared of. And to use an example, it's like with psychology. When people go, I'm going to go to a psychologist, or they wonder what happens, they think there's going to be this sort of like fucking come to Jesus moment, like boom, boom, like look into my eyes, not around the eyes you're under, and all of a sudden you're going to walk out, or they're going to give you this tactic, this skill, and a lot of it is actually just having basic conversations and running through these, I guess, like, even use how to relax. Meditation, things like that. It's not, I think people sort of think it's more grandiose than it is. And when you simplify it for people, they go, oh, I can actually probably do that. But then there's that correlation. But it talks about how, what you just said, you can discreate and create an identity. And I think this might really resonate with you. No one is an alcoholic, it's an identity. Right? And I'm reading this and I've sort of spoke to my friends about this who are in the psychological space, because I said, look, this shit's really like deep. Like I read a page and I really got to concentrate. Like it hurts my mind because I think almost some of it's a bit beyond me at the minute, like these concepts.
The more it's going to put it down just to sit with it.
You know, it's really deep. And I thought I'd bring it up with you because I think you probably understand a lot of it and how it works. But what it does is it's how to quickly identify behavior and habit in people and their identities, and create identities they want and discreate what they don't. I think that comes from childhood. So maybe you can speak more to that, but also, like you said, what you're doing here on the weekend with, the mindset of people, and even like running through some basic takeaways, I guess, that people can start to do.
The one, I mean, and correct me if I got this incorrect, the one thing is that, one, we've got, you're not your personality, you're not your habits, you're not your behaviours, you're not your choices, all that stuff. So the real question is, well, who are you then? So who are you if you're not those things? But I think that's what you were saying. You start to identify, well, I'm an alcoholic, I'm a footy player, I'm something, whatever it may be. But my again, back to what I look at when I'm looking at someone sets a goal or a target, let's say it's weight loss. And in the world of personal development, at least, my biggest beef with it is that goal boards, vision boards, all that stuff, which is great, do all that. But my biggest beef with the industry is that no one's actually stopped me to go, but how do you honestly feel about that goal or target? What's your right now emotional response to it? Because every thought you have creates a feeling, and vice versa. The neuroscientists can't tell you what becomes which, but you think about somebody, you're going to have a feeling it's really that prick, or Brad, you're going to have another experience, right? So we know that. So if we look at our goals and targets, we set them out. I run through people a simple process, which is stop and ask yourself, I want to earn $5,000 per week by November 2021. That may be someone's goal. My question is, how do you honestly feel about that? And what might come up, if you're open and honest about it, is, well, I like to, but you haven't even made $2,000. You're not smart enough. You're not clever enough. You failed high school. So unless we take that moment to actually assess how do I honestly feel about that goal, it's probably unlikely that we're going to put ourselves in a position to achieve it. the next part is then with goals and targets. And correct, are we on the right track here?
Well, no, there's no wrong.
Yeah,
there's
cool,
no
cool.
wrong with long form content.
Cool,
you know
cool.
what I mean? Like, I think because it's organic, it's
Cool.
natural. But no, I love it. Keep going.
Cool.
It's very valuable stuff because no one talks about this.
Yeah, cool.
Well, I shouldn't say no one, but it's not.
No one
prevalent.
today.
Yeah, it's not prevalent.
No one on here, anyway.
No, exactly.
Today.
No.
Except for us.
Right now. Well, you never know. That fella might pop his head in again. I don't know.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, it's cool.
There was a third person before, actually. Do you know what, though? That's like that mindset thing on the HQ course. Most of you guys probably wouldn't have noticed that who's watching. Go back. If you didn't notice someone walk through the screen, you weren't paying attention.
You weren't paying attention.
Or you maybe were, but to us, which is good. Anyway, sorry, mate. You were talking about feelings and emotions.
Yeah, and so that's one thing, is just ask yourself, how do I honestly feel about that goal or target, firstly? And there's three things that I look at when I'm working with somebody, and that is, unless they get to a place where they view that goal as they can accept it, there's that word again used, they can accept that that's something that would be possible for them, they can be at peace with it, or they can feel courageous about it. It's unlikely that you're not there yet, you've got more work to do. So then you might go, right, well, okay, I'm going to aim to let go any wanting security, control, approval around that goal. So the thing is, well, this goal itself, maybe I'm doing it because I want approval for myself. Again, we need to let go of that, because if we're doing something for an external reason, like I want people to like me, I want to have approval, I want to control the situation. So when it's made money, why? Well, because I'm scared about not having enough. Well, that's also not going to be a good outcome, because you're not at peace with it. You haven't accepted that things can go wrong, but the real key is that you'll be okay. The next thing is then once you've got that sorted, to the place where you go, I can read that goal, I can think about that goal, just like I might think about someone I love, and I can actually feel that that goal is connected to me, because I'm at peace, acceptance, or feeling courageous about it. Because I think it was Mariah Carey, even when she was worth about 70 million, she said she's still scared of not having enough. So there's someone that most people, you went, I'll give you 70 mil, I'll give you right, wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Most people go, that's what I went the lotto. So we went with the lotto for, because they go, I want to pay my house off, don't want to work, go on holidays when I want to do that. So we don't want to win the lotto. You want all that stuff. So that's my, I guess, the logical and subconscious and emotional part of it, because in the subconscious, it's where your beliefs, habits are. It also operates in pictures and feelings. So when I think about a goal, feel about a goal, what comes up, and then if you get that part sorted, then you might go through the action list. What are the steps that I need to take in order to achieve that goal? Good, you've got the vision board, but you've got no steps, you haven't done any of this part, it's just pretty board up on your wall. You know, you're telling your subconscious what you want, but there's no real action design. I don't have an emotional response to it. And then I might go, well, if somebody wants to lose weight, the first thing I might go was, I probably need to stop eating a tub of ice cream every night. Well, what's your now emotional response to doing that? The honest response will be, I don't want to.
Yeah, you enjoy it.
And by the way, I hear people say, I don't want to, and I go, how old is that language? It's like 10. It's like a 10-year-old rebelling against it, because we all have authority issues in our life from a young age. Because as a kid, you got told, don't do that, don't do this, so you have very little power. So you build this authority issue. But who's the authority issue in our lives now, trying to get us to do what's in our best interest? Us.
You have to become your own parent.
Should prospect the floor, you should call those leads, should follow like that. But the little wounded inner child in you is going, fuck you, mate. Because that brings up that feeling again of being rejection, having rejection, it's scary, all the rest of it. So who's run the show, and what does a 10-year-old, 7-year-old know about running a business or about weight loss? Because if it's just about the information, we wouldn't have people that are overweight. We wouldn't have people that couldn't make money, because you can go any bookstore and there's squillions of information about how to make money. So what I'm talking about here is my bit for the missing link, and I've spent the best part of 17 years making this simple, but it took me 17 years to figure it all out, working with people, tens of thousands of hours to get to that point. And I've had grown adults standing with me when I say, when you want to go and have that ice cream, you need to stop yourself and then see what comes up. And that sounds like, well, I don't want to not have the ice cream. And I go, how do you feel? And they go, I feel fucking angry, you know? And I go, well, what would you want to do with that? And they go, stop their feet. And what comes out is that exactly what I talked about. The wounded inner child that is still trying to get some type of approval, doesn't want to, you know, experience that pain or whatever it may be, running the show. Before you know it, you're off to the freezer, getting the ice cream on an automatic program. It's that automatic cycle. But if you can give yourself a gap, which is important, the gap, just to stop, allow whatever you're gonna experience, the fear, the emotion to come up, learn how to just deal with it, because emotions are there to be felt and let go of. But most people want to push them down. You'd rather express them or suppress them.
I actually took that quote the other day as a belter. Added that to my list. Information not to fall on deaf ears. It's my list. I got that from James Smith, the list. But I love that because I've not heard it. And it's a nice play on words. It rhymes, but still it was good because people remember it. Yeah. And I thought that was very valuable.
Yeah. So I feel like that's the missing link in a lot of personal development stuff, because you can do the intellectual affirmations, all the rest of it. But there's always an emotional connection in charge, and it's the emotion to all these programs, habits, beliefs that gives it the glue. And every time you have an emotional response to something, it locks in. So when someone says, I can't afford it, well, I've never heard anyone go, can't afford it. I'm so excited. I feel so empowered by that. It fucking feels amazing. You can't afford it. It's defeated, it's hopelessness, all the rest of it. So then it locks that back in again, rather than understanding that the self-talk and the emotion go hand in hand. The conscious brain and the subconscious brain go hand in hand. So if you're sitting there saying, I can't afford it, you're going to have an emotional response. Every time you see a bill, it's going to bring that up, rather than going, I know there's a solution to that, and it's going to happen very quick. I'm open and receptive to finding a solution so I can have that thing or get that thing or whatever it may be. So then you're telling your subconscious that you're open for it. And there's a solution, and I go, the subconscious works in pictures and feelings, and I go, and I want it now. And the solution, I want to have it right now. So I hope this is making sense, but that's my process for anybody who just feels stuck, and they feel like they can see the goal, they can almost touch it, but they feel there's some kind of resistance, something that holding them back, and they're just not sure what to do with it. If you start to explore it at an emotional level and then go and honestly work through it, the healing is in the expression of the feeling. So feeling emotion one thing, but articulating it is the other.
Yeah, and I think that's what I want to bridge that gap with now, because so this is critical stuff. I always talk to my peers about how to cause or facilitate change. You might social interviewing. This is like right. I didn't even know what that fucking was. The right. And it was nutrition coaching global mastermind coaches, and it's like, this is not the stuff in glossy magazines. And they went through a few examples like you, and I'm like, wow. And it's kind of complex, because again, it's not like this nice, clear cut, neat, just fucking do this like times 2 and that's your answer with someone. It's this emotional stuff. And I often say to people, I'm like, this is the shit that you don't get taught in your course, and this is why you will find that, and we'll just make it relevant to especially we'll just say coaches, right? A lot of coaches do not have walls and walls and walls of testimonials, whether that's visual, physical, auditory, because they'll get lucky a couple of times with clients, and you'll notice they'll always use the same clients as a testimonial. Right? But you think, well, fuck me, if you've been in the industry for 10 years, you should have fucking thousands, right? So I quickly sort of latched onto that. I didn't really know all the concepts, and I thought, well, and people often ask me, like, Alex, how do you get so many people like to that point and keep them there? And then like they just, because I don't like transformation. Transformation alludes to the fact that you go from one to the other and back again. I like evolution, and that's the word I use. And it's not because I like to be different, it's because it's more accurate. You should be evolving. It's this kind, it's not always for the better, but it's this constant sort of, caterpillar's a butterfly thing, which is a nice little analogy. But you know, it's these things that are deeper rooted where, you know, I say, and like you, I say, look, if it was as easy as just giving someone macros and training, all right, everyone would be fucking shredded, right? And we'd all be looking jacked and big. But I said, you know, I can sit down with someone and I actually have to unpack this. And you might go, but it's easy, but you don't understand how someone else thinks. But then how, as a practitioner, do you create that environment to empower someone that, hey, the answers are already in this room and you have them, and you truly do know what they are. And you might not know them at the specific level in terms of certain physiology and certain things we do, but you do have them. But it's like, how do you tease that out of someone? So I think this is largely this underlying principle, and people are overlooking it. And then a lot of coaches just say, well, you just don't want it bad enough, right? A lot of people were guilty of it. We can't say that.
I call that and it's the tell and sell, you know, like the tell and sell method, which is I'll tell you what you should do, and that should be it, but it doesn't work.
Or I'm not paid to motivate you.
Doesn't work.
Well, you know what, if you want to be, I guess, just a PT, then fucking maybe not. But if you want to be a coach, you fucking you know, it's the whole 360 degrees, because you've got to plug it in. It's like basically having, you know, all these weapons, and you don't know how to use them. You're going to get slaughtered. You need to teach people how to actually apply the knowledge, because if you just give them the knowledge, they're just standing there smacking themselves in the head with an olive branch, literally. So I'd love for you to unpack more of that now. So we talk about, because there's a lot of people following along here going, all right, I'm getting that, Jason, I've done this, or and now, okay, I've found my mistake, I've got the goals written down, I've got the vision board and all that, and we've all done it. And I've now expressed the emotion. You told me that. I'm feeling this. I'm feeling frustrated, angry, happy, whatever it is. Now, I'm going to play devil's advocate and go, well, I now feel these emotions, but now how do I overcome them, or how do I actually make that goal a reality now? What's the next step towards that?
In terms of like how you felt the emotion, you got through it, you've identified that, look, this is probably how I was feeling about the goal itself.
And we can keep on with the ice cream analogy if you want. Do you know what I mean? Just because it kind of goes through that example so people can follow along. Or if you want to use other anecdotal, like with real clients, how that's worked. I just think it's really valuable because people can grasp like the simplicity of a complex concept, perhaps, and then go, right, I kind of see where that, like how that journey works. Because I imagine you have to do this now with a couple of, you know, your limiting beliefs. You can't just do it with one, because you might go, right, again, the bill come in, I'm pissed off, hang on, how do I deal with this now? Let's express the emotion, let's accept it. And does that make sense? Yeah,
it does. And look, you said something before, and whenever I'm looking at has someone made an internal change rather than the transformation, it's like, has that person lost the weight and kept it off? Have they made the money and can they hang on to it? Or do they make money, lose money, make money, lose money, make money, lose money? And so, I mean, with all of us, life is the best teacher, right? So life will teach us the lessons that we need to learn. So if we've got certain areas that are like, be it relationships, be it the business that's not working, it's going to be brought to the surface. It's going to be brought to your face. But once you can learn these techniques, once you can actually stop, and again, I do break it down and do it simple. I go, if there's a certain outcome or goal somebody wants and they're not there, like say a smoker, for example, smoker says to me, Jason, I just can't stop smoking. I mean, the first thing I go, if you just change one word, you're halfway there.
I can.
Yeah, I won't.
Yeah.
I won't stop. Normally I got to move back because they're ready to right hook me. Because now, again,
people get really defensive. This is a really good example. I've almost got a guy now, he's pack a day, he's one a day now. And he's like, Alex, I can't see the next. And I'm like, it's just the same. You know, but like he has to make sense of it. He has to explore that emotion.
So if you're going on what to do next with it, there's a series of, say, 5 or 6 questions that I'll use for someone to help them facilitate and make their own change. Because the problem is if I tell you, again, this is what you've got to do or think this way, again, we've got that internal handbrake of going, don't tell me what I should do.
This is
and it's the same as if I try to tell myself, like, Jason, you should be doing that. It's a recipe for disaster. So the first question that I would ask somebody in that case is if it's a smoker, for example, I go, why might you want to change? So it removes any internal battle, I call it, because we all have internal battles with ourselves.
Absolutely.
Like, should stop smoking, should get in shape, should be better in business. So it's an internal battle, and it doesn't work, and you get tired. And that's when then you get lack of motivation, depression, all that stuff, because you get tired battling with something, rather than the Aikido or the martial art expression is, if instead of pushing against it, just get out of the way. So boxing is there, boom, boom, boom. There's apparently a winner at the end. We're all busted up. Aikido and other martial arts is you throw a punch, so just get out of the way and use your energy to flow through. But if we fight with a goal, we fight with something, you're the caravan, the car backs up, hooks it, and you're along for the ride.
Yeah.
So the first question I always ask myself or others, I said, why might I want to change? Whatever it is. Why might I want to stop smoking? See the difference and feel the difference.
Yeah.
And then I'm asking them to tell me, but more importantly, they're telling themselves, so why might you want to lose this weight? Rather than you should lose weight.
Yeah.
You should do this, you should do that. We smile graciously and go, oh, thanks. Inside you go, I know what you should do. Go and stand on that far queue over there. The second, I was waiting all interview to pull that one out too, by the way.
Good on you, mate. Get it in there.
I can finish now. The second question is on a scale of 1 to 10, which is a common question. On a scale of 1 to 10, once they've told me why they might want to change, because there'll be things like, well, I'd rather be a better example for my children. There might be a financial thing. So what in that process, what are they doing? They're already starting to tell their subconscious, they're starting to tell themselves that would be a good outcome.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you, you're telling yourself. The next is I go, okay, well, that sounds right. On a scale of 1 to 10, where would you be on doing that change or making that change? 1 being nowhere really near it, 10 being excited, ready to go and want to do it. If they were to say it's 7, I say something that breaks their what they probably expect me to say, and that is, if they say 7, I'll go, why didn't you pick a lower number? Because they're expecting me to push back. So people, when they are presenting to you something that they want, they expect you to push back on them. Mate, you should really get off your ass and do that. They expect that.
Yeah.
So they already mean, they go, well, why didn't you pick a lower number? Like, you picked 7, why wasn't it 4? And because I really want to make this change. I'm sick of this. I want to be better. Oh, okay, cool. So again, what are they doing? They're self-instructing to make change.
Yes. They're being the driver of it.
Very subtle, yeah. If they set a 2 or 3, the classic one is, what would it take you then to get to a 4 or 5? What would need to change, what would need to happen, what would need to occur for that. And again, I want you to tell me. More importantly, when you tell yourself. So again, if we put up resistance, be it I'm trying to get myself to make change, I'm working with a client, I'm trying to get you to change, the moment I start to tell and sell, it's over.
Yeah.
It's ineffective. Third question is, what might be some positive outcomes if you did make change? What would be some of the things that you could expect to experience? And they'll be telling you. Next question, number 4, is why is that important to you? See what I'm doing?
Yeah. So
they will feel differently, and then that's the emotional part against it. I don't want them to have any resistance, because again, it'll lock them on. It'll I can't do this, I can't do that. If I tell them what they should be doing, it's still the handbrake's going on. And then by the end, the next is I'll start saying, sounds excellent, that's good. How are you feeling right now about that now that you've talked about it? And it'll be rather, I actually believe I can do this. I go, how do you feel about it? I actually feel really good. Congratulations, you've made a huge progress. And more importantly, that's you doing it. And then I go, what would be the first step now, if any? Because again, I'm very mindful of going, what's the first step, mate?
Yeah.
It's like, what might be the first step? What could you do right now, if anything?
Yeah.
What could you do? And then they're telling themselves. So to be able to help someone, and I learned this with working with drug and alcoholics, drug addicts, is that if you say to a drug addict or someone who's an alcoholic or whatever, they say themselves, so I can't, that's it, I'll never have another drink again. They've got no internal track record or belief about that. So they go, bullshit. I just wanted to say it in that moment because I know I'm causing chaos in my life. But if they said self-managed, they go, can I just get through the next hour without having a drink? Yeah. Can I get through down another hour? Yeah. Can I get through another hour? Yeah. So I'm talking about addiction, but there's addictions everywhere. Addicted to feeling good, addicted to shopping, addicted to chocolate, whatever it may be, for a brief moment of ecstasy. So that's another lead on to what we were talking about. But those questions, if someone was to ask themselves that when they wanted to make change, quickest way to do it, took me a hell of a long time to figure that out. Those questions, a lot of sitting in front of people getting it wrong, using every other motivational technique you can think of.
Yes.
To realise that's why there's resistance, and that's why people don't make it, for ourselves and for others. So when I'm going for a goal that I can feel resistance, I go, why might you want to make this change, Jason?
Language is key.
Yeah, because it creates the emotion and the feeling.
It's so there's probably a variety of things I want to talk about with this, but I'm just going to grab the first thought that comes to my mind. Its initial one, which was I was reading my dad. He was into lifting back in the day, and he used to read the Frank Zane bodybuilding book, Fabulously Fit Forever.
Cool.
But Frank Zane was obviously a bit of a man before his time, and he was a psychologist, which a lot of people are not aware of. And in this book, I was reading it at a very young age, and he said, just be very aware of the language you use for yourself and other people. And I just was sat there thinking, I get it, but I don't get it. And I don't see how this is relevant or important. And it's funny as you move through life, how you sort of go back and connect with memories or pieces of information which now are effective, or they make sense, because it's almost like, okay, now I can understand why that was that. But again, it's not something that's really obvious. No. It's not something that's the forefront of what people are doing. It doesn't seem a very popular thing to teach, but it is at the essence, on the core of true change. Yeah. To be able to get someone there, and like you said, just even that slight change in the way, not maybe even the tone as well. We keep going to like body language, but it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Yeah. There's a good maxim. There's 1,000 ways to say "past the soul," because the tone, the emotion, and the intention even behind it is really huge. I was saying to a client the other day, it was very strange. When I was in primary school, I partly grew up in New Zealand, some people know, and we had this principal, and he was a friend's dad that went to the school. Anyway, he was energetic, this guy, and he was really into psychology. And he'd come on board, and a lot of us thought he was a bit of a plonker, because he renamed the school Paradise. And he said, "Welcome to Paradise, gentlemen." And he had this real very commanding, very happy all the time. Anyway, he used to have this little sort of jingle that he used to say, and this is weird, because I said this to a client the other day verbatim, and I'd not heard or even spoken these words for years. And if they're listening, they'll be chuckling away. And he used to say at the end of the assembly, he used to say, "Gentlemen, you guys remember, I am what I am, I do what I can. I can't say I won't, and I won't say I can't. Therefore, awesome. Can't becomes can, won't becomes will. I am what I am, and I do what I can." Yeah. That was his thing. And I said it the other day like that, and it's there. I remember I thought, that's weird, right? Like, that's strange as shit, that stayed with me. But as I grew up and developed, and I wasn't really like a rebel in school, but part of me was like, you know what, he's all right, actually, this guy.
He might have something here.
Yeah, and he was good, and just there was a few sort of interactions that I had with him over that time, which made me think, this guy's probably operating on a different level here. Yeah. He doesn't get mad, he doesn't shout at kids, he's very, he almost has access, I just thought, he's got access to something. I don't know, it's like he knew something no one else didn't, in some ways, and I'm like, he probably really understood psychology. And I know that even the teachers spoke highly of him, like he understood, like he would gift them like things, he would, like give him flowers now and again to teachers, or give him go to a massage day, and I was like, fuck, he's clever. And then I've learned why he's looking after his staff, this guy, he knows he's motivating them. So he sort of changed that whole facade there, but I just thought that was weird how I remembered that. But again, it's that language change. Can't, can, won't, will, all these things. And I think people aren't aware of, because they're so ingrained in saying these things. Like the one that really I really dislike is people go, FML, fuck my life, and I'm like, Some people say it too much, and I'm like, why would you ever want to fucking like? Some people really, I'm like, are you aware of how often you say that? It's really fucking negative, man. Like, why would you ever want to like if you're seriously saying it? I know people say it as a joke, but some people are like, you say that a lot, man.
Be careful.
You're gonna ingrain that shit into your habit, and before you know it,
you gotta be careful.
Yeah, it sort of transcends, and
the other one is don't stress. no stress or no stress. So, you know,
too easy in Australia, I think. Too easy, man.
And but when I hear people go to me, like I'll say, like I can't go, oh yeah, don't stress. Well, I wasn't until you fucking said it.
Yeah.
I wasn't even thinking about it until you brought it up.
Make sure you don't lose the keys. Fucking
Right.
You just don't lose. You've just told me to lose the keys.
Yeah.
Where if you say, for example,
remember,
just keep them safe.
Yeah, remember the keys.
It's the opposite. And I know it seems a little bit sort of maybe that's very tedious, but it's true.
Look, in my opinion, that don't forget rather than remember, it's instructing your subconscious what you want. So that's what you're referring to.
You're correct.
Because your subconscious works in pictures, it doesn't operate in words. So logical talks to the subconscious. So if you're going, don't forget. The picture of don't forget is forget. So remember, if you got to instruct it what you want, and that's back to what we're talking about with our goals and targets. So if your instructor can't afford it, well, you're just telling your subconscious to look for more reasons why you can't afford it. So rather than I know there's a solution, all this is very important. But yeah, that process that I was talking about, it's so critically important.
Yeah,
it's for change, and it's just I heard this expression a while ago, tell and sell, because it's just the era we live in. I want to just tell you to do something and I'm done.
Yeah.
You should go and do it now. It's changed your life,
And that's it.
But with, I had a really good mentor who taught me this stuff we're talking about for a lot of years, and he was big on the skill he taught me was the ability to sell or change in people. Because any muppet can get up on stage and rant and rave, and if I can tell you, I hear people that just carry on and rah, and I go, anyone can sit up there and tell you to stop being a fucking lazy little bitch and get on. Yeah, and that'll work for 5% of the people that relate to it, but there's no skill in that. There's no.
Let's actually quickly just address that.
Okay.
Who are some of the knobheads? Because I know it's subjective, but. Yeah. There's some good speakers out there. You can name some names if you like. I've seen a few. I've not seen loads, but you're right. There's a lot of people who they're really good at talking, and there's energy in it, but it's minutiae. Yeah. And I have followed said people, and I've quickly sort of deterred it because it's waste.
Yeah.
I go, there's just all this content every day, and it's so long, and it's the same rant, shit, sell, and I'm like, what the and I actually said to people, like, you're too busy consuming all of this content and you're not applying anything. So you're in this beautiful wheel where you're a subscriber to all of their things. Yeah. Maybe you're going to convert at some point with certain products, but they're just blasting you with information. And then if you follow 10 of those people, where do you get the time? You know what I mean? So I don't know what, maybe, and the reason I'm asking this, Jason, I guess for the takeaway is maybe you can kind of give people a bit of peace of mind so they can be better aware of perhaps people who are more genuine that can help them and better spend their time versus a lot of the jokers that are. Yeah, look,
we're in an era now where I get it that potentially some of the stuff that I've been talking about is not as attractive or magnetizing, meaning that the rant and raving and all that stuff stands out. So
they package it up to make it sexy.
Yeah, but then there's very little substance to it.
Yeah.
So I think if anyone wants to follow someone of substance, you've got to do your due diligence and research. There's the people that I follow, John Bradshaw. There's Stephen Covey. People that were really invested in their craft for a very, really long time. They just weren't overnight pop up on social media to make a platform for themselves, So that's the thing you've got to be mindful of. Where are the substance in somebody? Where are their actual teachings, their learnings? But it gets lost because you said there's just so much stuff out there now. I think it's confusing for people, and I guess if you hear someone raving and you like that style, you're attracted to that, and you might miss that there's no real substance to it underneath. So I'd say if you're looking for real change, you've got to look for real mentors. And I think it lacks dramatically now because again, and it's my generalisation. I'm not saying this is the way it is. It's my opinion and generalisation because there's plenty of good people out there. Is that there's this notion of I want to be the guru, I want to be I want to be the star of the show, and I want to build this big platform. But for me personally, I just think it's lacking a lot of proper, true help and mentoring. It's out there, but you just got to sift through all the polarizing stuff first to go, is this actually anything of substance here behind it? And, I got into this way before social media, and I had to follow my mentor. I chose to follow him all around the country, watching him present, sitting in counselling sessions, going to really in-depth emotional healing work for the best part of 6 years. So I did my 10,000 hours. I didn't do an NLP course, and all of a sudden I've got a platform, and I think I'm the best thing ever. And again, look, good on you if you want to go out and start. My point is just that there's a responsibility, especially this arena, to understand where your skill set is and where it's not. If you don't have someone, to me, it's like starting martial arts. You did it for 3 weeks and you think you're a black belt. It's like, I'm a black belt, have been for a long time, but I've still got my masters that have been doing a lot longer than me, that I still go to, that I still get training from, that I'm still learning from. So if you've just done a couple of courses and you go, I'm ready to take on the world, there is, in my opinion, you do have a responsibility, because people are going to take what you say. If you've got a good persona, you've got a good platform, they're going to take it down as literal. So there's a lack of responsibility, I think, sometimes out there, and what people are saying, recommending people do.
Probably why we see a lot of people getting burned.
And fall in love with the people fall in love with someone again. I just think sometimes it's maybe not intentionally, but I think sometimes it's done for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. Well, like you say, people just go, wow, I've got a following because of maybe the way I look. That TV show I've been on, whatever it is, it's a quick fix. And then some people go, well, I've got people who now are very agreeable. I'm just going to put something there and say, that's $2. And they bought that. So I'll go, all right, now someone else has offered me something, and I'll do it. And I can understand it. I can understand how it works. But like you said, because of all of that proverbial noise, it's hard to get or to then cut through to the people who actually have knowledge that is perhaps more genuine. As you said, it's hard. I say this as well all the time, Jesse. It's hard to wrap up and make the basics sexy. I talk to my clients about this all the time. I'm like, look, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to make new exercises that don't exist. The basics are the basics, and they work, and we will just oscillate through them. And yes, there's specificity and individuality within those, but ultimately we don't have to reinvent the wheel here, and that is that is hard to sell, because a lot of people are looking for a magic pill. They want the answer,
the new thing.
They want the cutting edge. So, and obviously, as long as there's people out there wanting it, there's people out there selling it.
And look, and I think there is another. That's a whole other topic. But there is a whole craft in making that stuff, selling the outcome solutions, the basics. So that's where we do flip over on that. And I got on that concept when I learned how to relax, and 30 seconds or less was every reason not to be. But when I first learned it, I was telling people, well, you know what you need to do, Alex, is you need to learn how to meditate. It's going to be really good for you. You'll be really, at ease. You'll be more peaceful. You'll experience more joy and peace. And people go, oh yeah, I get all that. I've heard it all the time. Again, I'm telling them and selling it to do it because I didn't know how else to say it. But then when I figured out that the main component was, I go, imagine, I always say, who would like to learn how to relax in 30 seconds or less when there's every reason not to be? People stick their hand up. Why would that be useful for you? Again, I ask the question, why would that be useful for you? Oh, because I freak out at sales appointments, and my best line to overcome the objection comes an hour after the sales consult that I've lost. Well, too late now. So they tell me, and they go, so if you could learn to be relaxed when there's every reason not to be, do you think that would be a helpful thing to do? They go, yeah, that'd be awesome. I go, well, this is the thing we taught the athletes at the AIS in Canberra. That's where it comes from. But you apply it to any area of your life: sales, arguments, presentations. Because if you're up doing a presentation, you freak out. Well, all that information's gone. You won't present how you want to present. And then you go, look, in just 18 minutes, it takes you to do training. If you did it even 3 times a week, within about 2 weeks, you notice in a profound way how you perform under pressure.
That's my next one on Training HQ, actually. It's the 18-minute video. The resource, that's what I'm up to.
Cool. So then people go, fuck, how do you do that? And then my thing when I'm talking about it from a marketing perspective, I go, or I could have come up here and said, who would like to learn to meditate?
Yeah, no.
It's like, well, you don't.
Next thing.
You don't want to learn how to meditate. You want all that stuff. You want to be able to close sales, be relaxed, be confident when someone says I can't afford it. You want to be able to, you want to be relaxed, be able to think clearly, so you don't freak out and lose a sale, lose money, all that stuff. So, that's the other side of it. But I like both, and but that's my style to do it.
That's it.
Ask a question, not tell. I don't like to tell and sell.
But I think it is powerful, and that is again, it's not even about what people like, what they don't like.
Yeah.
That, I mean, we go back to reading a book at the minute. It's called the Fundamental Principles or the Laws of Human Nature, and it's going into all this stuff. I've always been fascinated with psychology and whatnot. But I think again, I talk to some close friends about this on a weekly basis in that space, and there's so many misconceptions about psychology. And people, read me and it's like, no, psychology.
that's like, that's what happens when someone says, what are you, I'm a life coach? Who the fuck are you to judge my life?
Exactly. You know what I mean? It's just like you're coming out from the right straight away. You're going to get people going, fucking hang on. So you just say coach, whatever. It's like, well, that we can go in any category. But, it's, I've always thought, the person who becomes a master, and a master is obviously still subjective again, but it's like martial arts before, it's a great example. Whether you've done it or not, people understand, or they can at least know what it is, and you just can't shortcut experience on this earth, and you can't, and I always say to people, you can't buy experience, but you kind of can, and that's by doing what we talked about before, by investing in good people and resources. And perhaps that's what I want to sort of transition with now before we, sort of come to the close end of it, which is, you mentioned mentors before, books you've read, and also resources, things that you think had really helped you, but also that you recommend to other people, perhaps books you gifted, because there is a certain, it's like anything, you just got to do your time.
You got to do your time.
So my dad always used to say, you got to do your time, I don't really understand what you mean, Dad. It's like, you're cutting your teeth on, you're learning your trade, like can't, there's no way around this but to do the thing. And, it's like you've got years and experience on me where you've been in front of people, those thousands and hundreds of conversations, good, bad, ugly, all of it, because again, like you said, I mean, we've all been there, we'll change our minds in 5 years and go, fuck man, I could have been doing that better, but you only get to that, but you only get to that point by doing it though, right? Because it's like you can sit there all your life and just go, someone who said this to me the other day now, it was on something else, it was an absolute belter, and they went, and I sort of helped the client with this, and they were said, he says, you're Slash guitar player. Yeah, he goes, first time he played, and I think I don't know if it was in your course actually.
I don't know.
Maybe it was.
But I've read his books.
And it was pretty much like, do you think he was good? And it was like, he was actually shit, and he was an embarrassment of himself. Like a lot of people do in life, but now people are like, fuck, he's the man. But it's like, but he did not just pick up a guitar and go, and like smash it. He started like anyone, and don't get me wrong, there's natural talent and all this crap. But it's like everything's hard before it's easy. You're always shit before you're good at it. People go to me, oh fuck me, I wish I could deadlift like you. I said, well, do you know what? I said, the first time I deadlifted, it was 60 kilos. I had a master's student watching over me, and I pulled my back out. I had a horse dentist in the gym. A horse dentist, you did hear that right, who used to wear dress shoes. Shout out to Paul Cartwright, he's the man, right? And he taught me how to lift with better technique than a master's student of 10 years facilitating a PhD. I said, and so now you look and you see what I deadlift, but I said, I want you to, and the reason why I'm telling you that is I said, because you've got to understand, I started somewhere, and we all started somewhere, and every person that you look up to that's brilliant at something, they started somewhere, and they probably fucked up pretty bad, more than once. But when you understand that, I think that's a key thing. Go, you're bursting to say something.
No,
you're right, I can see that.
No, I'm digging it. I'm digging it because we're talking the same language. I'm really enjoying it to hear it back because I'm sometimes saying it. So no, I was digging it. I was really
good, man.
I was on the edge of my seat,
rocking out. He was on it.
I was just making sure you were done because I'm going. Keep going.
Oh mate, good. I fucking keep going. I don't fucking stop.
There's no problem.
No, people are listening going, they didn't shut up, Jason. Get a word in while you bloody can. I can host a podcast myself. But no, it's good. I feel like you might have been listening to a Slash song in here. No,
I was thinking it's because it's true. It's true. It's true because there is again in this era where there's the instant gratification is always there. You said earlier before, like the magic pill, all that. So there's not enough of that delayed gratification out there being taught. And so I was right with you. I was in it, and when my experience has been, I remember when I started with Paul, my mentor, and he asked me to give a testimonial. It was at a Think and Grow Rich event run by Stuart Siddell back then, and what we did, we were training people to become coaches, and he said, "Can you come and give a presentation?" It's like 400 or 500 people in this event. So I'm going, okay. So the night before, I'm writing down all the stuff I achieved, paid the house off in 3 years, money goal, all this stuff, but they were all that type of goal. And I went to my partner at the time, I said, "Hey, can you listen to this? Tell me what you think." And I've said it all to her, and she said, "Look, all that stuff's good, all that stuff's really great." She said, "I think you missed the most important thing." And I said, "What is it?" She goes, "It's who you become in the process. You haven't even mentioned that." And it just floored me, and I felt an overwhelming sense, and I feel it now, of pride and self-love, and all that hit me because I was telling all these people thinking, okay, my job is to come in and impress to some degree. It's not my style, but I'm trying to do a good job for the business and to impress people. Go, this is what you can become if you do this course, and all that. And I went there and I said that. I told it how I'm telling you now, and everyone watching. I said that exactly, and that's how I gave the testimonial. And there was not hardly a dry eye in the place. Yeah. And I went, she said to me, "It's who you've become in the process." She said, I would give all that other stuff away to wake up with that person. Profound. And again, that come from someone, my partner, who didn't do any of this stuff.
Yeah, not in the space at all.
Just an open, honest person. That was just her perception of observing what I'd done, all the effort, work, he said, that I'll put into it. And I missed it because we get too wrapped up and try to get the gold, but it's who you become in the process will be with you forever. So the black belt is all good, but it was who I had to become to get it. Yeah. The waking up at 4 a.m. to drive 35 minutes to train for 2 hours, to drive back another 40 minutes, all that stuff translates, and that'll be with me forever. In any area of life, discipline, consistency, you only get that, like you said, that's why I was so into it from doing.
It's the journey, not the destination.
Yeah, and I just think it gets missed. And my other one I say at seminars is like, happily pursue your goals. Don't pursue them to be happy. Yeah. It's a trap, and I fell into that trap. So if you earn 1 mil, 10 mil, who gives a shit? Like if you don't enjoy it, if you're not enjoying all the little parts, like you said, some of my best moments were the most challenging, embarrassing, forgetting everything that I had to say at a seminar in front of 300 people going totally blank, that was with me forever because I got back, went again. So then I wasn't fearful of forgetting what I was saying or looking silly, because I already had that experience, realised I didn't die, but it shaped me, but I could have bailed. So all those things is just happily pursue your goals. And that's the ticket. That's what you'll be left with, in my experience. Yeah,
it's a really key takeaway, I think. Because people always put happiness on the horizon.
Yeah, I'll be happy when I pay the house off. No, you won't. You'll be the same miserable bastard with the house paid off. You just find something fucking else to piss and moan about. You know what I mean? Because you've put it all on. I'll be happy when. It's a choice, right? So, that's why I say happily go for it. If you're going to be in business when we're working with clients, if you're unable to ride a roller coaster, see it all as part of it, you're going to struggle. If you're only happy when the income says the right number, you're going to struggle. If you're only happy when the amount of leads come in, you're getting pushed around again. You're just being dictated by outside circumstances rather than embracing it, going, all right, I'm up for the challenge. It doesn't have to affect my mood. They're two separate things. Yeah. I can still show it with a smile on my face, or you can show it as a miserable, defeated,
it's true.
Person.
And that's very character building.
Yeah.
And I'm sort of thinking about that myself, and how, like, going back to what we talked about very early on in the conversation, that acceptance, and it, it's not you have to practice that. It does take a little bit of time
You've
as
got to
well.
practice it. You're like anything, you've got to put the work in.
Yeah.
You got to time on the map.
Well, that's it. It is, isn't it? Yeah. Like you said, it is very much so. It's all of those, like, it's the mental muscles, if you will. But you do get to a place where if you can do that, then you can facilitate the change that you want much quicker, or in a way that's much more plausible. And I don't know if you want to speak to this before we get into some rapid fire questions, which is being present.
Yeah.
And that's we've kind of alluded to that with what we've just talked about. Yeah. Probably sort of touch base on that been there. Where a lot of people now, like, we will never be here again at this time having this conversation, and it's like, really, what a fucking privilege and an honor to be able to do this. I'm super fucking grateful to be able to speak to people that inspire me, on a very regular basis. It wasn't always like that.
Yeah.
But I've started to say to people lately, when people, how you doing? Use a quick exchange. It's sort of what you do.
Yeah.
And then, if we do get into a conversation, I'll sort of say, people are asking, when they want a bit more, like, what have you been? And they're genuinely interested. And I said, well, look, you know what? Things are great. Things are good. I said, there's always obstacles, and I'll say this to people. I said, there's always ups and downs. I said, but to be honest, I said, everything's going in the right direction. I said, to be like, so I'm not going to say, I am working on these things, but I said, I'm happy.
Yeah.
I said, I'm doing my best to be more present and mindful. And people will stop and they go, I need to do that more. I said, we fucking all, and I go, no, we all do. And they're like, I really like that. And I said, yeah, no, I said, look, we just don't. We get so caught up thinking about Saturday night, what I'm going to do then, the next meeting, the next, and it is really, and it's hard. So I don't know if you've got. You're always
forward,
Well, you are, right? Yeah. But the thing is, we never live in the future. We don't live in the past. We only live in the present. And I'm not saying we have to be oblivious to the past and the future, because it's important, guys. But it's good to be in the moment.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing here.
Exactly.
So everyone that comes here, they're in their business. Most people come in and go, the best thing was that they just got to stop and get out of their day-to-day business, everything going on. Don't have to be a father, husband, but just for a few days, just be present, focus on what is truly going on and what they want to do when they leave you, because that's the personal development program out there. We just come here to learn about how to do it better. So how do I be better? How do I understand my limitations, my limiting beliefs, my behaviours, and how do we go about making a change? I guarantee you though, once you decide it and you go back out there, you're going to get a test. It's going to go, well, okay, how serious were you about all that stuff you said in here? So we just learn about the real personal development program, which has happened out there called life. And the better you can be equipped with all these the stuff we've been talking about, emotional intelligence, dealing with your emotions in a positive way, your language, as we talked about, I'm okay, then I'm experiencing sadness, realising all those things are separate, then you'll just be better equipped to deal with all the stuff out there. And hence, as you go towards achieving your goals, you can do it, with a lot more ease and grace.
Yeah, absolutely. I was saying about before this, for people who are watching on YouTube, you'll see it's a beautiful location here in the Gold Coast, Broad Beach Keys. It's very immersive. Environment is huge because it changed the state of a human. I remember back to in sports science when we used to go for the leadership element, and we used to go out in the mountains, and they built us up to it, but man, there's some fucking extreme shit we did. Man, it's character building. And I've referenced before Jim Patcher, who was my coach, my teacher in this. He was an older fella. He was great, real funny, sharp, relaxed. We had this massive modern campus, and he had a shed on it. It's great. And he said, anytime you want to come for a cuppa, life's getting too much. Come sit down, like Jim, great, lovely fella. This guy's
so good.
Like, stay with me for life. And I said to Jim one day, Jim, and we were playing this swan game, where we and there's all these adults, and I was one of the young ones. I was 17, and I said, Jim, I've got to rest, mate. I said, what's all this got to do with what's all this got to do with sports science and coaching? And he goes, it's a good question, Alex. He goes, but I'll tell you something, because he used to go into large companies, organizations, and he used to break them down, and he would, elucidate problems to them and actually teach them team building. And he goes, when you get people out here, he says, in this environment doing this, you really find out who people are. He says, when we're on that high ropes course, so when you're fucking over the edge of, and I actually remember, and you've used this analogy in your trainer HQ about the abseiling, about talking people through the steps, and I fell. So I was safe. I was obviously I'm here, but I was abseiling over the edge, and this was
he's dead, really.
Yeah. We just, I have mastered life. Come back as an immortal.
It's true master.
But I remember I was abseiling over, and I'm quite a small guy, so I was quite light and need a certain amount of weight for the rope to kind of give, and then you sort of once you've gone your way. And I'd done it a few times, but this was it was a big waterfall, and I'm thinking, fuck.
Yeah.
I couldn't even see the guy at the bottom. I was like, fucking hell. And I went over the edge, and this person was there for me. She goes, go, you've got to give it more. And I said, and I remember doing it, and I'm just, in that moment, you go, fuck, what are you made of? Like, you are a scaredy cat, right? This is part of why I call my business Fearless Training, amongst other things. But anyway, I went over and I slipped and I went straight back. I had a helmet on. I went straight to the wall, and I was literally hung upside down.
Wow.
At the top of this thing, and I was panicking.
Yeah.
Panicking. And Jim comes over and he goes, Alex? I'm like, yeah. And I'm just fucking all this frantic. And he goes, sort yourself out, man. I said, he goes, sort yourself out. I said, what? He goes, you're not falling. I said, no. He says, sort yourself out. I said, what do you mean? He goes, you know what to do. He goes, put your foot there, and he taught me through it. And he sort of calmed me down. I loved it. I was fucking up and down all day, wasn't I? It was great. We did all sorts of stuff. But I look back at that now, and I didn't get that at the time. Like I did, but I sort of go, well, that's what you were talking about before, like that character building, and then knowing when that fear is hit, and looking at something which might seem so irrelevant, the language, the conversations, the tools, is completely relevant, and that I can't buy that experience, and all of those and like teaching, and then in the second year, like leading 50 people across a mountain, and you're dealing with all these personalities and people whinging, and someone sprains their ankle and he wants to eat, and you've got to get him, and he just disappears in the bush and goes, look after everybody. Great. I'm like, thanks, that's great. And he's like, I'll see you in 6 hours. I can't ring the guy. He just goes bush. I can't, but obviously they feel that you're ready for this challenge, and it's like that has given me more power to implement the scientific knowledge that you read out of textbooks, because it was that like real world experience, and there's fucking like you get it done because you've got no other option. But I just thought I'd sort of that's reminded me.
Well, you can tell the person who's read it in a book and has done both, and got the theory and has got the practical experience. You can. I'm sure you can tell someone's just reciting stuff that they've learned out of a book, know the theory, but you can tell they haven't done it.
The cracks begin to show very fast. I think you get that.
You feel it. You can just feel that you go. You can hear someone and go, that's like that. You haven't actually experienced it, but you know it.
Yeah.
Like you can come to a personal development workshop here, and I tell you now, we get the guys to do some stuff that puts them in a state of stress that we've spent 2 days talking about, and then they get an opportunity to use it, and they go, right, we've spent 2 days giving you the training, now we're going to give you an exercise that actually puts it to the test.
Get them to swim in the canal.
And we've got about 10 dudes with the shark fins, scuba diving underneath, because again, otherwise it's a nice time and you get some breakthroughs, you learn some stuff, but until you actually have a test of it, it's just theory. You just have the theory. So we promote it for them. You can't tell you what it is.
No.
Because they might see it and then they'll be all clued up.
Exactly. We won't put this podcast out. But it's true, and for people to come in. But that there reminded me, Jim locked 2 people in a safe one time, and he says, I would never have done that now. He goes, I was young, it was big work. The 2 people in this company who were going, and he goes, I shouldn't have done it. He goes, but they had to sort it out. But it's sort of sometimes, like you said, you see, I judge people on what they do, not what they say. And I think you get it. You're probably a lot better at this than me with your experience in terms of, I think you get quicker. And it's not necessarily a gauge of, you don't have to do this, but through life, you're able to go, when you meet someone, and you can't judge a book by its cover. You have an opinion, but you get better. Your calibration, I think that's the word. You go, you're genuine. You're a bit full of shit. Some people surprise you, but you can, like you said, you can read them. It's the body language, it's the IQs, it's all of these things. I'm not analysing people, but but you do.
You though. No, you.
That's the one. Gotcha. Don't walk away from the laptop.
I can see what you're doing. Don't you pull faces at me. I'm black belt.
Next minute he's in the room. What's that? That's some Nightwish shit.
Bring my
right?
mate in from the side. He was there. I'm gonna mess you up.
So mate, bloody silent assassin. But yeah, no,
Awesome,
it's good. Look, let's rapid fire it before we wrap up, because I know we could, and maybe we would do a round 2 at some point. It's good. I like to get a bit of a baseline, get a feel, get the audience, then we can formulate some more specific questions.
Love it.
First one for you, relevant for you. If you have to gift a book to someone, or say the audience, you could send everyone a book that listens to this podcast. What would be the book that you would send them off the top of your head?
Ooh, good. I would actually say it is Reclaiming Your Inner Child by John Bradshaw. Yep.
Like it.
Yep.
Like it. I'll add that to my list.
Yeah, great book.
Second one is, if you could choose a superpower, what would it be and why? Speaking of
Superpower.
I'd strangle that bloke on the laptop behind you.
I want to fly. I want to fly because I don't like waiting and check-ins and all that stuff at the airport. I just want to be able to walk out here, go, especially with COVID now. I'd be sweet. I wouldn't have to worry about all the flights. Fly. I definitely want to fly.
Great, wouldn't it?
Fly would be amazing. Just, I want to fly.
Yeah, I think it's a popular one.
Is it? I should think
then. No, as in it's in most. A lot of people will go there.
Yeah.
Because who wouldn't want to experience it? I think the closest thing, I don't know if you've done this, you've jumped out of a plane yet.
No, I haven't jumped out of a plane yet.
With a parachute,
Yeah. We're not recommending the other
People
one.
are like, what?
Do that, man.
You just got to do it over the sea. You'll be fine. Just got to make sure when you enter in, you're like him. Otherwise, you will lose your legs. Look at that bloke. We laugh, but maybe that'll be a thing. And the third one is, I like, this is a bit more lighthearted, but your favourite food. It's a bit more humanistic, like sort of a bit behind you. Like, what's your favourite meal? Sitting down with the family or even yourself?
My favourite food. I'm a hamburger fan. I'm a big fan of hamburgers. When you ask me, it's like I love food in general, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's hamburgers. If I go somewhere and there's a new hamburger place, or I'm out somewhere, and there could be all the amazing different dishes on a menu, I'll go hamburger. Hamburger all the way.
About not even a K away.
Yeah.
Best burger place.
Is it?
In my opinion, in Gold Coast. You might have been. Have you heard of Easy Street Diner?
I haven't.
It's an absolute belter.
Well, now see what you've done. Now you've told me that. You know we're all eating.
Yeah, but no, it's worth it though, because you don't come here all the time.
I'm going to go.
No, Easy Street Diner. It's literally as you're coming out of Broad Beach on the left, you'll see a row of shops. And you've got like
I'm gonna Google that.
Yeah, you've got 7-in-1 Hair Studio, Teague and Woodford, and it's kind of just wedged in between next to the 24-hour Asian massage place.
Well,
grab a burger and then grab some dessert.
A bit of dessert. I'm gonna feel a lot lighter after that. So, burger, yeah. I was going to I'll go there, not the massage place. Well, you never know.
People go, that place.
I just go there for the burgers. Yeah.
Sorry, you guys do burgers? I went in, Alex. They said they didn't do burgers.
No. My aim is to get there before we leave here, and then I'll go and take the picture. I'm going to tag you in and go, mate. Yeah, I'm going to go. Yep, it was amazing.
Beauty. That'll be good.
Awesome, mate. It's been a pleasure.
An absolute pleasure. I do have one more.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, sure.
It sounded like
who's fucking running this show?
There you go. No, it's like, fuck off. I need to go to the toilet now. He's going for that burger already. That's what it's like, right, no, let's go. I'll drop you off on the way home if I No, it's a bit more serious in nature, but it's my it's my signature question.
All right.
So you can't all count me now.
Shit.
And that is, can you identify, or could you identify, please, a fear that you've had in your life? It might be something that you still have, what it is, and what you are doing or have done to overcome it, and what you've learned from that fear. It could be something simple, it could be complex, it's completely, whatever it means to you.
Yeah.
I think,
so it could be one from whenever.
It can be one from whenever, it could be something you're working on, it can be something really small, it could be something that's quite, hang on, that's a big fear.
The one, not recent, it can be.
Whatever.
But one of my biggest fears was when I was leaving high school. So, love school, sport, lunch, and chasing girls were my favourite subjects. The rest of it, not so much. And I remember being there at the end of grade 12, putting on a brave face, going, yeah, but mate, petrified. I'm looking at my report card, going, this has been a big fun journey, like the grades are terrible, and I'm looking at this going, what kind of a future am I going to have? I feel like I thought I'd never own a house that I wanted, never thought I'd have a car, and that was one of my biggest fears. I remember just leaving going, I'm going to have a terrible life, I'm going to have a very limited life, I'm not going to get a very good job. So when I talk about who I become in the process, that's the part that really hit me when my partner at the time said it. That's the real significant one for me. It's the one that from that slowly built over years in jobs I didn't like, again, feeling hopeless, desperate, no solution, no light in the tunnel, which led to depression, anxiety, panic attacks for me, which got me into seeking help. And my biggest challenge, as we said, was asking for help. That would be it, because that was at the time was a really big deal, and I thought my life was going to be very, very average at best. So to talk about, come over and through that, to get through that fear and realise that I had to go, and I don't recommend it. Pretty bad downward spiral that took a long time, because again, if you don't know how to deal with it, and I didn't know how to deal with it as a young man.
Suppressing it.
Yeah, it just built up. By the time I hit 26, 27, I guess you can only feel, your fear buckets and anger and sadness so much that I was paralysed with fear and panic attacks, anxiety, terrible. So yeah, that would have been it. Yeah.
No, I appreciate you sharing.
Look where we are now. It's cool.
How things change, and I think it's testament really to what you can do with knowledge. And consistency and discipline and all the things that we've talked about in the podcast today kind of come full circle, in terms of you don't have to do great at school. Not saying don't apply yourself for any young listeners there. You definitely can, but just the whole ideology of...
Especially if you're watching Mia, my daughter, apply yourself, tell myself.
That's it, right? It's like, but it's like break the mold as well. I think don't be afraid if you are passionate about something, but even also understanding education. It's like learning to learn again, but maybe that's actually, Jason, that's a really good point. Perhaps that's why people don't learn, because they are told to do your maths, to do this, to do that. Where if maybe, and I know it's hard for teachers, it's easy to say, but maybe if there's, and I think it's evolving, different teaching methods.
I think it's definitely evolving,
I think you'll actually get a lot more out of people, and perhaps we'll even create a better world. So mate, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Pleasure, mate, really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. No, thank you for sharing your experience, my friend.
It's been awesome. Thank you.
And guys, for everyone watching and listening, as always, leave a rating and review, iTunes, Spotify. It's easy to do. It takes a minute, guys. Just scroll down. If you enjoyed this episode, it helps us share it. Tell someone, tell a friend. If you thought, you know what, I really enjoyed something like that, share it with at least 3 people. I'm sure you know 3 people. Helps the channel grow. And of course, if you're on YouTube, remember to like. I've got to say it. Comment if you've got any questions for me or Jason. I almost forgot. I know I've asked Brad this, but where can people find out more about you? Where would you like to direct them towards? Because I'm sure people are going to want to follow along.
Sure. Look, the main one would be our website. It has all of our information about what we do, how we do it. So it's Trainer HQ. But you'll need to put trainer-hq.com, and then you can find out all the information about what we do, what we provide. And if you would like to reach out, best way to do it.
There you go. And as always, guys, links in the description below. Subscribe, hit that bell icon for weekly videos. And of course, until next week, as always, stay fearless.
Ciao.